So yeah, man, this Lonzo Ball news that he's gonna require another procedure, specifically a cartilage transplant, which I can't remember that being a thing. I'm sure it's happened to another athlete, but I don't remember it. It just super sucks, man. And I contemplated not doing this video because I don't know, it's a bummer all around, but it would also feel weird to not talk about it at all. So yeah, and the thing, man, it just seems like he just had the worst possible luck with this knee thing. I mean, first it was the bone bruise and the meniscus, and I mean, I watched Brian Suterer's video on it, and he was talking about how well it could be like a hip thing or an ankle thing. It could be because the meniscus has had multiple procedures on it. Could have been like more of a patella thing, which is tougher to pick up on MRIs. I mean, hopefully this is the surgery that is going to allow Lonzo to. I mean, before we even talk about getting back on the court, how about just the guy being able to just move around normally? I mean, he's said that walking upstairs is a bit of a thing for him right now. So that's the first thing really, and the hope is because he's going to miss all of next season. I mean, it's a safe bet. They said there's a possibility he could come back, but it's probably about a year sort of thing, and a year from now is March, and so then it would be like the regular season being 2 weeks away from ending. You probably just don't have him play next season, right? Uh, Hopefully in the 2025 season we can see Lonzo back, and I mean I imagine it's going to be a ramp up process for him, but I mean we can't forget just how awesome he was, especially in those 35 games for the Bulls. I mean he was the connector on offense. The guy has just been one of the best 3-point shooters when he's been out there. I mean he was at 40 something percent from three on 7 a game. Defensively, of course, one of the best guards or just defensive players period in the league there. And I will just never forget just the defensive menace that he and Alex Caruso were for the Bulls in those 35 games. And yeah, it's just super rough, man. The other thing to think about too is like, well, what's it going to look like for Lonzo if he can come back from this, and just how's he going to look as a player? I mean, the thing Lonzo's always going to have is he's a very smart player with good defensive fundamentals, and as we saw, as he adjusted his shooting form over time, again, became one of the best 3-point shooters, catch and shoots especially. And so I would feel like there's still a world for a guy who's like smart defensively, is a good passer, can make catch and shoot threes. But of course, it's going to come down to, how fast is he? Can he change direction? Is his lateral quickness there and all that? Like, we'll see. I mean, it's definitely going to be a process. And I would like to believe that there is a world in which Lonzo can still be like a high-end rotation player, whether that means starting or playing high minutes off the bench. I really don't know. As we get to the other side of this whole thing, that's the hope, man. I think I saw one person on Twitter randomly make a comparison to like maybe you could still have like a Sean Livingston Warriors-esque thing. There are a few differences there. Lonzo will be a few years younger when we see him again compared to when Livingston ended up on the Warriors, because he was 29 his first season with the Warriors. Lonzo has the 3-point shooting, whereas Livingston was more of a mid-range god with the turnaround jumper and all that. But besides that, I mean, like tall, smart ball handler, like there are some comparisons there. And of course, both of them dealing with a bunch of lower body stuff. And that's the hope. Now, there is another side to this, which I will admit I do feel a little uncomfortable talking about, which is like his contract and the Bulls and what they do. I'll just say this, okay? He's got a player option for the 2025 season for $21 million. I'm going to guess he accepts that. That would be the season for him to come back, assuming things go smoothly. And as far as how the Bulls react to this whole thing, well, listen, they're not going to have him next season, so they can't just tell themselves, well, once Lonzo comes back, this whole thing is going to make sense. And so how that affects DeRozan, Levine, Vooch, Billy Donovan, I don't know. We'll see there, but the biggest thing is still Lonzo. And, I mean, look, the dude was one of my favorite players in the league, and that was before he had the Bulls season. I mean, I remember like in his second year with the Lakers where the shooting transformation had not happened yet, and there were definitely a lot of arguments about just him as a player and all that. I was still like, well, listen, man, whenever he's out there, they're like good, and their record with him is always better. And just to see that, stretch for the Bulls, it was like really, really awesome. And yeah, we hope the best for Lonzo, man.